guys, I decided I'm going to make just a little series of videos of tips and tricks that I've learned along the way from other great model builders and discovered some on my own. And I want to pass them on to you guys. To the veteran builders, this is probably nothing new, but I figure for any of the novice builders or some of the guys that are just joining the hobby, you might find some of this interesting and informative. So if it helps you guys in the hobby, or you guys just joining the hobby, hey, then this video will be worth it. So sit back and let me go over a few tips and tricks that I've discovered on my journey into this fun-filled hobby. All right, let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is decanting paint, or more specifically, getting every last drop out of that can so that you don't throw away perfectly good paint because you think it's empty. As you're spraying and your paint level runs low, you think that the can is empty because it starts to sputter. It won't spray perfectly even the way it did when you first started spraying. The problem is that the paint level gets so low that there's not enough to come out evenly with the propellant. So what I do is that I take the cans and I empty them into a paint bottle. What you have to do is you have to hold the can perfectly horizontal. If you put it at an angle at all, you're not going to have enough paint coming out, and that's what starts to sputter the paint out. So you hold it perfectly horizontal, aim it into the bottle, and just take out as much as you can. What you see here is how much I was able to get out of these two cans that were basically going to go into the garbage. There's a lot in here, and you lose a lot if you don't perform this little trick. And now I have plenty of paint in this bottle that I can possibly paint another entire kit with. All from paint that was about to go into the trash because it seemed like the cans were empty. Now remember, when decanting paint, remember to let it sit for a while to let it gas out. Otherwise, if you cap it off right away, you may come back to find your bottle exploded with paint everywhere from the pressure built up from the gases escaping from the paint, from the propellant they use. So leave it cracked open and let it sit for a while it gases out. We got another little tip here. We are making a part stand for painting using the styrofoam, I don't know what we would call these pieces of round styrofoam. You can pick them up at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or a craft store, and they are perfect. You poke a few holes in them, get yourself some of these hobby sticks with the alligator clips on them, put them in the holes. If you want, you can mark them so you know where the holes are, and there you have an instant paint stand where you can set your stuff up to dry. Very inexpensive and great little tool for hanging your parts after you dry them. And if you really want to go all out, you can get a styrofoam cake stand. Again, basically the same process. You can use that by poking all your holes in with your paint sticks, and you can hold all your parts, put them on the stand there as they dry. And again, just a larger version of the small one, and becomes a really useful tool when you're building multiple kits at once, or you have a bunch of parts like I have here, a few bits and pieces. I've removed a lot of the stuff from the latest build, but still a couple things left in there. But a really handy tool that you can make yourself for just a couple of dollars. Here's another great tool. These are the Tamiya paint stands. They are spring-loaded. They have these little spring arms that attach to the inside of the car body and hold it while you paint. They work fantastic as they rotate, as you can see here, and allow you to get to all different sides and all corners of the car as you're painting. Fantastic little tool. I really recommend these. Now, these aren't the cheapest things in the world, but they're worth every penny. Here is one of my favorite tools. This is basically a low-speed rotary tool. It's got 3 speeds. They're sold by many different manufacturers. This one is sold under the name of Keshi. It's basically the same tool by all the manufacturers, but this is under the name of Keshi. And this is fantastic for buffing and polishing out your paint. A must-have tool, and they're not really very expensive. I think they run between $20 to $30, depending on which one you buy. But I really recommend this tool, as it's really upped my paint polishing game. Here's another little modeling tip and trick. If you go around the edges of the windows, and this is the sunroof assembly here, with a black marker, it appears like a gasket, a rubber gasket around the windows and the sunroof. Just by going around the edges, gives it a little bit more of a realistic look. So just a little something to look out for on your windows. Another one of my favorite items to use are these Tamiya weathering powders. They work really great, come in all sorts of different colors, and allow you to do all sorts of weathering effects on your models, especially on starships and armor models. You can see the amazing effects that you can get using these weathering powders. I've only done the front of this ship, but as you can see what a difference it makes. Well, I am going to have to darken that a little bit. I went a little light there. I'm going to have to darken that up a little bit. But they come in many different colors. Yellow, gray, green, which is what I'm using for this ship. Sand, light sand and mud. You have orange rust. All these different Tamiya weathering powders, which are fantastic for doing this kind of work. Basically, you just scrape the powder off and apply it with the applicator that comes with it, and it works fantastic. Here we have another little great item that I like to use, embossing powder. They come in all different colors, and they really make for a fantastic carpeting material, simulated carpeting. As you can see here on the trunk of the Pops Fiero build, and the interior there really looks like carpeting. So I really recommend using embossing powder. I like it much better than using flocking powder. It's neater, it's easier to use, and just looks great. When laying decals, I like to use microsol and microset to help the decals adhere to the whatever model you're making, and also helps to melt them a little bit so that they sink down into the model and look a little more realistic. I recently picked up Mark Fit and Mark Fit Strong because I wanted to give those a try, as I've basically only used the microsol and microset, but we're going to give this a try soon, and we'll see how well it does. Be a little comparison on the channel. But as far as decals go, I recommend using decal setting solution every chance you get. Really makes a huge difference. Hey guys, This is another tool that I like using, this paint retarder. If you're like me and you love Tamiya paints, you'll know that it's a love-hate relationship, because when you're brush painting them, they tend to be a little difficult. Well, I found that if you use their paint retarder, just a drop of the paint retarder into the paint makes them go on smooth and easy, and they're a joy to hand paint with. So I definitely recommend, if you're a fan of Tamiya paints like I am, that you pick up their paint retarder. And while we're on that subject, here's another tool which I really love from Tamiya, their extra thin cement. This has got to be the best cement that I've ever used. It melts the plastic so that you fuse them together, and it goes on super easy. This is the quick setting one, which dries very fast. It evaporates very quickly. So you got to be quick when you're using it. They do have their regular extra thin. This one takes a little longer to cure than that one does, but both of them are great choices for cements for our hobby. One of the other glues that I really like using is the Bob Smith Industry Super Gold. Dries 100% clear. Even when you're using it on clear parts, I found that it's fantastic. Dries fast, strong bonds, and most important, very clear. So, one of my favorite glues to use. Then this, which you can pick up at Hobby Lobby. They're not too expensive, and it's a great fast-acting super glue. It's a little thicker and more of a gel-like glue, but it's great for gluing. As CA glue, it performs fantastic. And then we have Micro Mask. This is a great liquid masking material. When you have some of those really tricky crevices in the corners that you have to mask off before you paint, this is a great way to mask them off. Here's another little tip. This is just craft acrylic paint that you can pick up at Hobby Lobby. It's $1.49. I have found that this, when you thin it out properly, makes a great panel lining paint. I love using the Tamiya panel liners, as I have the entire line of colors that they offer. But if you want to save a little money and get equally good results, this works fantastic. You just make sure that you thin it out enough so that it flows. And for $1.49, you can get pretty good results, like what I got here on the Pops Fiero. That panel lining is all done with the craft paint. So if you can't find a Tamiya, just hop on down to Hobby Lobby or Michael's, any place that sells these acrylic craft paints, and you can have some great results there also. Well guys, I hope you've all found some of these tips and tricks useful. It's all stuff that helps me in the hobby, and I hope that some of it will help you out. So that's pretty much it for now. I'll be popping videos like this from time to time as I find more stuff that is really cool for us. So I guess that's it, and I'll see you on the next one.